Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Frater Oz again. I'm driving down 27, going to make a delivery here, and I'm inspired to make a video, all right? This is going to be about something that I've briefly touched on before, relating to particular traps on the tree of life when you are trying to seek the balance to attain to knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel. Basically, traps that you may fall into and as you progress up the tree of life, all right? Before we get started, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave me a comment below, let me know what you think about the subject that we're going to be talking about today, and consider supporting the channel and helping me build a retirement by supporting me on Patreon, or perhaps picking up a t-shirt at the link below. If you click on the t-shirts, click all the way through so that you can see all the designs, because the little window that pops up there on YouTube doesn't really show you all the designs. The t-shirts have been doing pretty well. I think they're really good. The people, the feedback I've gotten from people who purchased them is that they like the quality and everything, so consider checking those out. So I've talked before in videos where I talked about the tree of life and videos where I talked about balance, about those central spheres on the tree of life. Okay, you have Tifereth, which is represents the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel, and then surrounding it you have 4 spheres. Okay, and I view that as kind of like a gyroscope that's spinning around, and sometimes people get sucked into one or another of those spheres. Okay, before we really get started, I want to read a passage or a section of the book of the law, and I don't want you to take this as me commenting directly on that passage, but I do think that it relates, and so I wanted to read this passage before I say the first things that I'm going to say here, okay? So this is chapter 2, verse 27 through 33. And it says, "There is great danger in me, for who doth not understand these runes shall make a great miss. He shall fall down into the pit called Because, and there he shall perish with the dogs of reason. Now a curse upon Because and his kin. May Because be accursed forever. If Will stops and cries why, invoking Because, then Will stops and does not. If Power asks why, then is Power weakness. Also is Reason a lie, for there is a factor infinite and unknown, and all their words are skew wise. Enough of Because, be he damned for a dog." So I don't want to directly comment on it because I don't do that, okay? But I could in relation to this topic, okay? Because probably the 2 spheres that I see people get stuck in the most are Hod and Geberah, okay? But they also, I see a lot of people that get stuck in Netzach and Kesed, okay? Now, I have used the term many times over the years, and I talked about this in another video, of Hodians. People who spend all of their time asking why and saying because they're stuck in this intellectual sphere, and they get so caught up in the technical aspects of Thelema and the occult in general that it's just constant mental masturbation. They're just constantly dissecting the meaning of words rather than discussing the subject. They're constantly focused on all of these different intellectual aspects rather than practical aspects, okay? And then I see people who get real Geberah. They get really like fiery and they're assholes, and they just want to argue and fight constantly, and they have to disagree with everything. And these are people who get stuck in that Geburah. And then Netzach is emotion. And you see these people who get stuck in this sphere, and they are just constantly, love is the law, it's love, that's not love, and they're just constantly with that. And then you have these people that get stuck in chesed, and which is mercy, and they're always constantly just forgive everybody and never, which is similar to the people who are like, love is the law. So you have these areas where people seem to me to tend to get stuck and not balance it out with all of the other aspects. In order to get to the middle sphere in the Tifereth, you have to be able to balance all of these aspects, okay? And this brings me to the main point, which is that the true secrets of all of this information, okay, and the true usefulness is practical. It is not intellectual. It is not emotional. It is not any of these things. It is practical. And you have to be able to allow yourself to balance all of these different aspects and come to a place where this actually has a practical effect in your life. And that's why, a lot of the videos that I talk about how these things relate in real life. Learning things from books is great. Okay, learning things from books is good. Pursuing things from an intellectual perspective is good. But you cannot only pursue them from an intellectual perspective. You also cannot only pursue them from an emotional perspective. You have to balance those things and find where Thelema becomes practical in your life. And it's not the same for everyone, because some may be, like I say, more easily sucked into one or the other of these spheres or mindsets when they're studying and practicing the occult. And it's important to try to recognize which one of those spheres it is that you are more drawn to, or that you are more naturally embodying, and consciously balance it out with its opposite. This is the love of Thelema, the union of opposites, the bringing together of these opposites within yourself to create a balanced individual. And that in itself is practical, okay? But simply pursuing the things that relate to the sphere that is easiest for you is not practical, and it is not going to help you. It is only going to push you further into that sphere and allow you to be sucked into that sphere. When you are sucked into that, it keeps you away from the center, or Tifereth, or that balance that we should be seeking. Specifically in relation to Hod is the one that I seem to see the most, at least by people on the internet. It seems like the most people get sucked into that particular sphere and get into this just intellectual, mental masturbation type of mode, and cannot seem to see the practicality of these things and only look at it from an intellectual perspective. And that's problematic. And I think that, I'm going to read these passages again. Okay, now that we've discussed that a little bit, I'm going to read these passages from the Book of the Law again, and I want you to internalize it and think about it in that context, all right? There is a great danger in me, for who doth not understand these runes shall make a great miss. He shall fall down into the pit called Because, and there he shall perish with the dogs of reason. Now a curse upon Because and his kin. May Because be accursed forever. If will stops and cries why, invoking Because, then will stops and does not. If power asks why, then is power weakness. Also, reason is a lie. For there is a factor infinite and unknown, and all their words are skew wise. Enough of because, be he damned for a dog. I'd like to also point out a quote from Crowley, and I forget where it is from, okay? But he says, reason and emotion, these are the great obstacles in yoga as in magic. He's basically saying that the two greatest obstacles that magicians need to overcome are reason and emotion. You must balance them, okay? And these spheres, all in their own way, particularly Hode and Netzach, are the spheres of intellect or reason and emotion. Okay, and then you can draw parallels with Geburah and Kesed as well. One being mercy, which is very emotional. One being severity, which is more intellectual, in my opinion, at least. And they're both they mirror each other on those sides. So you have Geburah over here and Hode over here. Then you have Netzach over here and Kesed over here on the other side. These are forces that must be balanced in order to truly bring Thelema into your life and attain spiritual attainment up the tree. You know, as I've said before, Thelema is a very middle pillar type of thing where we're trying to go from Malkuth to Yesod to Tifereth and eventually through the abyss into the supernals. This all occurs on the middle pillar. Now, that's not to say that the other spheres are not important, okay, that these other four spheres are not important, but they have to be balanced so that you can stay on that middle path on the tree. So I would recommend that you just consider that and, you know, maybe take it into your reality tunnel and your thought process and think about some things that you read in Crowley's writing in that light with that set of glasses on. Hopefully that's been helpful to you. I appreciate all your support. Consider joining the Patreon or picking up a t-shirt. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and thanks for watching, guys. Love is the law. Love under will.